Hello, good day, welcome again. Yes, today we are continuing in our series of valances, cotton valances. So today we are making swags and jabot. Jabot is spelled Jabots, plural. Jabot, because actually you will need one on the right and one on the left of your swags. So we're going to start by cutting out our swag. So let me show you how to cut it now. So this is the fabric I'm going to use for the swag. So the fabric measures 40 inches wide and 29 inches long. That means it is wider than it is long. So I will now fold it into two. I will fold it into two, and then I'm going to be marking it. Now I'm going to measure 12 inches. This is the from this is the center fold. So these are the two openings here. So from this opening here, from this end, so let's say this is the top of the swag. This is the top here. So from this open end here, I will measure 12 inches from here to somewhere here, wherever my 12 inches mark is, and I will mark it. Okay, so this is 12 inches. This is my 12 inches mark. So from there, I will now I will make a straight line from that 12 inches mark to the bottom corner here, the bottom corner here. So I will make a kind of diagonal. I will have to draw a diagonal line to link the 12-inch mark to that corner there. Okay, you can use your ruler so that it's straight. Then I will now cut it out. I'm going to cut out that portion. So after cutting it out, so I'll put that aside. Now I'm going to make a curve, because this is the base, this is the bottom of the swag, so it should be curved. So you're just going to curve it to some point along that diagonal line. So, and then you cut that out also. So this is what we have now. You can see that the bottom is now curved. So the last thing there is I'm going to make another curve at the top here. So I'll just make a small curve in here. From the tip, I hope you're seeing me. Let me draw the camera closer so that you see what I'm doing very well. Okay, so from this tip, from the 12-inch mark, from that tip, that point, I just make a kind of arc. So just a small distance from the top, about 4 inches from the fold here. So I'm going to cut that out also. So we are just trying to shape our swag before we use it. You have to cut your fabric into the proper shape of swag. So this is what I have finally. This is the final shape of the swag, so you can see. So this is my swag now. You can see the bottom that is curved and the top too is curved. Right, so this is it. So I'll fold it back as it was, and then I'll place it on the lining fabric and cut out the lining, because this one is going to be lined. So as it is in that folded position, I'm going to just pin it up so that it doesn't shift. I'll just pin it up, and then I will place it on my lining fabric and cut it out. Okay, so this is my lining fabric. The fuchsia pink fabric is my lining. So I have placed the swag we just cut on top of the lining, but of course the lining is folded in two, because this one too is folded, so I had to fold this one too in two, so that I'll just, I'll now cut the swag out exactly as the shape of the swag is. All right, so now my lining has been cut, so we are now going to get onto the sewing machine and begin to sew our swag. So as I begin the sewing, I'm going to sew this side, the other side, and the curved bottom. So I will leave the top open for now, so I'll just sew the two sides and the bottom. And while sewing the bottom edge, I'm going to leave some allowance here and at the other end of the bottom. So that allowance is going to be for me to thread in the rod later. So don't worry, you understand it. So let me just begin to sew now. Alright, so I have sewn this side and this other side. I'm left with the bottom. But as I begin to sew the bottom, like I told you, I'm going to leave some distance between here. I will leave about 2.5 inches. I'll start stitching from about 2.5 inches mark here, and at the other end of the bottom edge I will also leave 2.5 inches. The reason is because of the rod, because by the time we're going to assemble the swag, we are going to need that hole to pass our rod. We are still going to do the same at the top here. At the top, when I'm going to close, I'm still going to leave the same allowance here and here. It is because of the passage for the rod that is going to hold the swag, and the allowance you leave depends on the size of your rod. If you are using a bigger rod, then it's the diameter of your rod that will determine what the space will. If you are using a smaller rod, we have different rod sizes, so it's the diameter of your rod that will determine the allowance you leave. All right, so let's continue. Let me sew the bottom edge now, and I want to also insert fringe. I want my bottom edge to have fringe, so I'll be sewing in my fringe to the bottom edge as I close it up. So I will sew the fringe onto the face fabric first. I will sew it just to that edge before sewing the lining on top. Alright, so now the bottom edge has been sewn and the fringe is there. So what I'll do next is to turn it right side out. So this is it, I've turned it. So what I'll be doing next is to top stitch this top edge. So I'll be turning in about 1 inch, then I will top stitch from here to here. But like I told you, I'm going to leave that rod allowance here, 2.5 inches here and at the end. All right, so here we are. So what I'll be doing next, you can iron your work as you're working, iron it out. Now what I'll be doing next, I'll be making I'll be creating a casing for the rod on the two sides. Now there is a hole here and at the end, and another hole here at the end. So I'm going to sew 2 lines here. I'll sew 2 lines down, so that the rod will pass through those 2 lines, and also here. So the lines are going to align with the holes. So that's what I'm going to do now. So here we are. The 2 lines have been made. You can see the 2 lines. Let me show you from the back. So you can see the 2 lines have been made. So we have essentially finished the swag. So out of the 2.5 inches we left, I left half inch here, and just 2 inches between the 2 lines. So that half inch will serve like a small header. So if you want more header allowance, then you can increase. So I will now assemble the swag. So you just grab your rod and go to the bottom. Start from the hole at the bottom and thread in your rod. Then you connect it to the hole at the other side and thread it down inside. Sorry, my rod is rough. Okay. All right. So you just arrange your rod, your swag neatly. You can use your hand to cover this hole if you don't want it to show, and then you arrange your swag well. You can see our swag is formed. So now this is our swag. So we're now just going to create the jabot. If you like the other side too, you may use the other side. So if you want a double-sided swag, you can use a nice fabric too for lining, so that you can use either side. Now this our swag. So our swag is formed. So we'll now go to the jabot. So for the jabot, I'll be using this fabric. It's 33 inches long and 33 inches wide, 19 inches long. So all I'll just do, I'm going to just cut a sort of diagonal triangle that will go from the top here, not completely from the top. I'll just leave a little allowance of maybe about 5 inches from the top. Then I'll cut it. It will go diagonally down to near the tip of the other end. So I'll be cutting out that triangle. So here is it. This is what I have left. You can see. So I will now place it on the lining fabric, because the jabot is going to be lined. I'll place it on the lining fabric and cut out this exact size and shape. So after cutting the lining, so the next thing is for me to sew around. I'll sew the side, sew it to the bottom, and sew it down, and also sew this small side. So it will only be the top that will be left for turning right side out later. So let me sew it. So after sewing it around, I'm going to turn it right side out from the top. So after turning it right side out, the next thing is to pleat it. So let's get to pleating. All right, in order to pleat our jabot, we can start from the long edge here. This is the top, this is the bottom. So you can just begin your pleating, and you will see the lining will begin to show with a zigzag design at the bottom. You see, so as you pleat, the lining will form, because the lining is contrasting the face fabric, so it to begin to show. Anyway, it depends on the style you want. If you want to stack the whole thing on top of each other, so there are different ways. If you want a stacked jabo, you can do that and stack everything up like that. So you can just do that design and stack everything up. But if you also want pleated one, you can just pleat and space it out like that. Just make sure everything is uniform, and then the next thing is for you to finish it off properly. So in order to finish it off properly, I'm going to cut a strip, because we are using this jabo with a rod. So I'm going to now get a strip of fabric to sew to this top edge. So I'll just cut a strip of fabric. So this is my fabric strip, about 5 inches, 6 inches wide. So you just fold it in two like this, and sew it to the top of your jabo, sorry, so that it will form a channel to pass your rod through. So let me do that and I'll be back. So after sewing my channel to the top, so this is a finished jabo. So we just now thread it together with the swag, and that's it there. That's our swag and jabo. So you just make the second jabo for the other side. That will be, so this is the left one. So you make another one that will be on the right and put it here. So you can have more than one swag on the rod. You can have 3, 4, 5, as many as, depending on the width of your window. And then you just finish it off with swags at the ends with jabo at the end of the swags. So, and that's it for this video on making swags and jabo. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.